Welcome back to Vizaural Music, a music podcast where we talk about tunes that we found or were sent in by submissioners all around the world on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, and any other place that you can host music. You can find all of these tracks at vizaural.music.blog, and you can always send us a track if you want us to take a listen and maybe put it on an upcoming show at vizaural.music@gmail.com. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Craig.
And we got a lot of songs for you today. In fact, we have 9 songs. So this is it's the longest set list that we've had. Might not necessarily be the longest show we've done, but it's 9 tracks that's going to send you all over the world through many different styles, all with varying levels of quality.
Oh man, are you already calling me out for my songs?
No, I'm not necessarily calling them out. I just thought that this was an interesting set. I would not play this as like a continuous mix, like it really is. We're jumping all over the place, which is good. It's, for a show like this, you don't come to listen to here's 9 songs which all fit into the same style. You want to see like what's some cool new stuff that just popped up that you never ever would have found if not for people like us.
Yeah, the coolest people on the planet.
Absolutely, or at least that's what our emails say from people like Hungy. But we
I don't think that's true. I don't think Hungy's ever called us cool. Well, definitely not me. He's never called me cool.
In fact, he often puts you down in the emails because, I'm generally right about my music picks. And, well, you're generally wrong half the time. 65% of the time, you're wrong every time.
Perfect. I think this week, though, he's going to agree with me that my songs better than yours.
Okay. Well, and what's interesting about this show is that I think we've now been picking up some listeners, and if this is your first episode, welcome. The first few episodes, of course, we didn't really have any submissions because no one knew we existed, but about half of the tracks on this show were sent in by bands just like yours if you've made a little recording project. And so please keep sending those. I really like to, get in contact with people who actually listened to the show and wanted us to talk about their track.
Yeah, it actually kind of blows my mind that we are getting listeners submitted tracks, which is cool, and I'm glad because they have yet to suck. So
that is true.
The only shitty songs on each and every episode are ones that for some reason we decided to put up on there.
Yep, and just keep sending in those submission tracks because maybe you can be the very first submission that really, really stinks, and we'll have a special honor for you when that actually does happen. But honestly, we generally like a lot of stuff, so at least I'm not an asshole. You might be an asshole.
Oh, I'm totally an asshole. Yeah. Fatherhood has not softened my dickishness.
Yeah. So how is the little Craig running around? Is he now jamming to lots of hardcore metal by this point because he's like a hipster 3-month-old?
Well, she's been a she for her entire existence.
I think I'm just going to keep using that male pronoun, though, in every one of these episodes. I think that's going to be the new thing for
And it makes me
Craig.
So mad because, like, whenever we go to look up stuff on, like, WebMD or any baby thing, like, she does anything a little off and you, like, run to see, oh, is this normal? Is she having a stroke? Is she actually already dead? All the sites use he pronouns instead of just they or your baby or the baby. And it's still frustrating.
Hey, you know what? I was talking to my daughter just yesterday because she's really into PJ Masks, which you'll almost surely see as well, unless you're like a Waldorf parent who doesn't let your kids see TV. And she likes Catboy. And, someone said, like, oh, you want to be Catgirl? She's like, no, I'm going to be Catboy. So I was like, all right, well, there you go. She's already bucking those gender norms by just saying, nah, I can be the boy too.
Well, that's good, actually. Mm-hmm. Can't blame her, fault her for that. No, it's pretty crazy how... every couple of days, Arlie is doing something completely new, and it blows my mind. Like, I went to Minnesota for a couple of days, like, a week and a half ago, and I left, and she had no idea how to grab anything. And by the time I come back, she's, like, has 2 maracas in her hands, and she's just shaking them constantly. Like, she now knows how to use her hands, which is pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. I must tell you, now you're also going to be like every other parent where you'll talk about the little small advancements our kids make and we're like so amazed and we love it and everyone else is like, shut the fuck up. I don't care about your kid walking and talking and doing funny things. I'm like, all right, well, I'm still going to share it with you.
Speaking of that, and then the other new thing that... No, I mean, obviously, yeah, if you have a kid, I'm sure you're used to those changes and everything like that. And if you don't have kids and you're a fully formed adult, you're like, Yeah, I can grab things too. It's not that cool.
In fact, I'm holding 2 beers right now. And can your kid do that? I don't think so.
No comment.
All right, fair enough. Well, let's get into some of these tracks, because we got a lot here to cover. The very first one was a submission sent in by someone from our old Space Rock Mountain days. This is a band called The Modern Folk with the track Borders Are Violence. Oregon, and I feel like I have a couple of tracks on this show this week that are from Oregon or Portland folks, and I don't know why it kind of mentally just sounds like what I think Oregon is. I've never lived there. I've been there a number of times, but I really like this song. It really does sound like a piece of modern folk, in that it's not just a guy with a banjo strumming out some old Woody Guthrie songs. It's like, here's some synthesizers, here's some electronics, and then it gets really kind of almost like a lo-fi experimental rock song near the second half of it. And we just came out a couple weeks ago with a video review for Graham Rapolsky, who's someone we also learned about through Space Rock Mountain. And this kind of reminds me of that, just that really spazzed out, kind of experimental, I guess we can call it, folk music. But what do you think, Greg?
Yeah, I was going to say along the lines of Woody Guthrie, I would say the title the title of the track really spoke to me, because borders are violence, and I think Woody would definitely agree with that sentiment.
Absolutely, and I couldn't decipher, or at least I didn't remember. Deciphering and remembering are two different things, I imagine. But the vocals here, if the vocal theme has to do with that obvious political statement, but I mean, that would also make for an interesting modern folk dynamic where the lyrics are not the kind of, here's a song about laborers who are fighting for blah, 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 like in a lot of those old protest folk songs, that if those lyrics have almost nothing to do with the main theme that the title represents.
Yeah, I can't remember what the lyrics were either, but I really liked everything about the track. I will say, like, my one qualm was, like, the vocals always didn't 100% work for me, but everything else was fantastic. And this is a weird thing to say about a little lo-fi song, but the drumming was the standout for me. I loved how the drums were mixed. I loved how they were recorded. You know, I'm not the biggest like cymbal crash person, so like I think this is the track like right at the end where it kind of breaks down and you just like finally is like, oh, I've got cymbals, I've got to smash these for the last like 30 seconds.
Absolutely.
That part I didn't dig, but like I don't know, just everything else. So there's two minor qualms in a fantastic song from hopefully some very good socialist boys.
I imagine so, or it's all a larf, and you know that's fine too. Whatever.
Well, as long as even if they're ironically socialist, the sad thing, well, not sad thing, the part of irony, you know, Twitter and irony, everything is those people usually tend to accidentally become fans of what they're being ironic about.
That is definitely true. Just look at every ironic Nazi on Twitter.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. So having more irony, like ironic socialists, is probably a good thing, because eventually they're like, oh yeah, these are actually really cool, good ideas.
In fact, just bringing up our favorite topic of late capitalism and irony Nazis, I just saw one of the greatest tweets ever where there was a bunch of people arguing about something, and someone who, you know, was clearly on the right but didn't want to say they were quite a Nazi yet. They shared a link and they said, "Look, all the facts are right here. Just ignore the swastikas on the front page."
That was for IQ testing.
Oh, was
like it? Yeah, because you know IQ testing are inherently racist and everything. But yeah, I love that too. Like, oh, the facts are on this website. Just ignore the swastikas on the front page.
Oh, I love that. So I hope that was done ironically, but I don't think it was.
No.
God bless you, Twitter. And it's for free. I could just go on there and I get those laughs for free. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, you get like one laugh for like 1,000 tweets where you want to stab your eyeballs and just disconnect from everything. So it's a good balance.
Yeah, it's true. Speaking of stabbing your eyeballs, let's get into our next track. This is from a band called Illinoise with their track Sheena. Spanish band. You found it, Craig. How about you start us off? What do you think of this?
Well, I really dug it. So they've got songs both in Spanish and in English. I chose one for English for this one. I kind of dug how the lyrics, like the flow and the rhythm of it, didn't go with the music, so they kind of stood out a little more, which is true of a lot of the other songs too. So for me, it just made the vocals a little more prominent, which is nice. I would say I was only like maybe 85% there with the singing style. Like a lot of times it did seem a bit disjointed. But I know how I just said that was a good thing, but when it wasn't working, it didn't work at all. They weren't.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, well, yeah, music is weird like that. You know?
It is.
They're definitely not breaking new territory with their sound or anything like that, and it toes that cheesy self-awareness line a little bit. But there's definitely more good than bad. If you like this track, I would definitely check out the other stuff. And I chose this song because it's about a girl finding a stray cat and taking it in and being all nice to a little kitty. And now, if you say anything bad about it, you hate cats and animals. And,
no, I do like this. In fact, I have one of the lyrics because I pulled up the lyrics. I thought, is this? It was a little hard to decipher first. Was it in English and Spanish? And then by halfway through the track, I'm like, okay, obviously this is in English. I want to see the actual lyrics to this. One of the lines is, "They told me you are just a cat, and they are just humans. So what?" I thought, that's a great line. I really love that. And this is the kind of jam where I absolutely would have loved this a lot in like 2002, 2003 when I was listening to a lot more kind of hardcore. And I really like this kind of stream of hardcore. It's kind of like fist pumping music. It's just got good riffs. It's kind of like party music in the hardcore scene. It's not all that, scary or, You mentioned disjointed, but I actually think it's pretty riff heavy. It seems like it's the kind of stuff you could dance to quite well.
Oh, when I said disjointed, I meant like the vocals. Like how a lot of tracks, like the vocals just go along with the rhythm of what's being played and the notes that's being played. So that's what I meant by disjointed. Not that that everything was kind of herky jerky.
Sure. And I mean, yeah, I like that it's from a Spanish band. I wish all the lyrics were in Spanish. I mean, it would have been great if I had Google translated these, and this is the line where I thought, is that exactly how it's supposed to be delivered, or is Google Translate just not doing a very good job with this? But no, that's what they wrote. So.
Yeah, I think a quarter or a third of the songs were in Spanish. Like 2 or 3 of the stuff were in Spanish. But yeah, like when you were talking about your younger hardcore days, to me it does kind of sort of approach the makeup territory. It's not quite as like funk hardcore-ish to it, but yeah, it's definitely riff and kind of pop hardcore in a weird way.
Speaking of like being or the good old days of when I was young going to shows, I went to a show with my wife this Friday, which is now a couple of Fridays by the time you hear this, to see the band Standards, which I've talked about before. It's this awesome 2-piece math rock band from Los Angeles, and there's some other local bands, some really good stuff. There's actually this really great all-female band here in Santa Rosa that I just discovered at the show called The Crystal Creeps. We'll have to play some of their stuff in the future, but at the show, it was very clear where here's like a bunch of young hipsters, and they look the part. They're all in their mid-20s. And then clearly people who are parents or someone related to someone in the band, because like old people in the back on their iPads while people are playing, just like reading stuff and waiting for their kid or family member to play. And then there's me, like right in the middle, where it's like I'm not quite those old people yet. I'm no longer a young hipster, but this is where I find myself in this music scene at this point in my life.
Yeah, you haven't reached the single creepy guy in the corner that doesn't talk to anybody for the entire show and then just randomly leaves as soon as the last band is over.
Oh, I definitely don't do that. I mean, my wife was there, so I was talking to her and trying to like tell her, well, like this is like the background for some of the kind of this music, or like math rock is blah blah blah. But when I go by myself, I try to talk to everyone. I'm the one dancing. I feel like if I just act the biggest fool, it makes other people feel like they can also jump around and actually have fun at a show instead of standing there like it's a very serious museum painting or something.
Oh, that's weird. You can have fun at shows? I usually just put my hands in my pocket and nod along to the tracks.
Yeah, well, there you go. Let's go ahead and go to the next track here. This is from another submission. It's a band called Leatherface with I Saw the Spider. So this, like I mentioned before, is a submission from an Indiana band, and I really like this track. It reminded me, anytime I hear a song about spiders, I only have like 5 songs in my mind that I go to, and one of them is
the Spider from The Who.
Yeah, that's one of them, and another one is not a famous song by any means, but one of our friends who had a band called Tolomine Treescope, he had a track called Simon the Spider, and for whatever reason, that kept coming into my mind. These tracks sound nothing alike.
The Itsy Bitsy Spider?
Yes, that's also one of them. Actually, I hear that one the most in this house. But this track by Leatherface had a really kind of interesting 90s alternative sound. I'm going to mention Pavement again later on in this.
I know exactly. Yep, I know where we're going with that one.
Yep, but this also sounded like, okay, this is from that. It's in the 90s when Pavement, had Cut Your Hair, and all of a sudden everyone was like, oh, cool, you can do kind of this disjointed, alternative indie sound. There was a lot of bands that came out, especially I remember living in Santa Cruz in 2000. That was already a bit late, but by that point the wave had, washed over the indie scene. There was like thousands of imitators, and this, would fit into that, but it's a good jam. I mean, like we said before, just imitation or trying to sound like a really great act isn't a slam against you, and I really liked that. I had the line, I had many of the lines from the song stuck in my head throughout the week. So the fact that I was remembering it even when it wasn't playing, that's always a great sign. But what do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a great representation of just psych fuzzed out pop. I will say it took a little longer to get going than I would have liked, like musically and track wise. But the last minute was fantastic, and I kept on going back for more, trying to decide if I liked it or not, which probably means that I liked it, because why else would I keep on choosing to listen to it? And then I listened to everything again this morning, and when this came on, I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is fantastic. I think it might be something that might take a little while to grow on you, but it's definitely a fun little listen, and happy that they sent it in, because I would have never heard it otherwise.
And I don't know much about Indiana, but we get submissions from Minnesota or Wisconsin or from New York or California, and those always seem like quote unquote cool places to me. And I don't know much about Indiana, so I always have an extra affinity for bands that I feel are from states where it's like you're in the middle of the country, and it's not seen as like a center of like a great musical culture and stuff. I'm sure there's awesome bands, of course, in any location, but I don't know if you know anything about the Indiana music scene or the reputation it has over there in the Midwest.
I don't know why I'm the Indiana expert.
Well, you live close enough, right? Like within a couple thousand miles.
Yeah, both now and when I was growing up in Minnesota. It's the same thing. No, I have no idea what Indiana's like. The only thing I know about Indiana are like the Hoosiers, Gary, Indiana, and Indianapolis, where I got a speeding ticket for going with the flow of traffic, but I was unlucky enough to have out-of-state license plates, so the cop decided to pull me over.
Yep,
instead
you
of
were
the
not
300
going with
other
the flow of
cars that were all
traffic.
going the same speed.
Yeah, you were just some foreigner in the land of Indiana.
Yeah, there's no way this guy is coming back to fight this son of a bitch, so fuck you, have your ticket.
But you know what?
No.
If you would have had this next song, you would have been able to fight that shit, Craig. Because it's an awesome, jamming track. And it's by a band called Closet Death. I Want to Party. Let's hear it. So you picked this, Craig. Tell us about it.
I did. The band is called Closet Goth, you dum-dum.
Oh, did I write that wrong? Oh, no, I wrote it right. I just said it wrong.
Yeah, well, good job. You're a beacon for the University of California Santa Cruz education system.
Hey, and the University of Edinburgh. So, you know, I'm
true.
dumb in
And-
two different countries' university systems.
Yeah, you were at like Yale for a while too, weren't you?
I went to Cambridge.
Well, that. What were you doing in New Haven?
I was working for Habitat for Humanity, and I just went
Oh,
to Yale all
for
the
some
time.
reason I thought you were doing some grad school stuff at Yale too.
Oh, thank God not. I actually had a good time because I wasn't in grad school.
Fair enough. You're like, oh, I only did that in Cambridge. Anyway, so yeah, if I'm sure you were realized why I love the song, the first line when it talked about how great professional wrestling is.
Yeah, I immediately was like, fuck this. But then, you know what? It was actually pretty good. And I like my post-hardcore to be a little silly, and I liked that.
Oh yeah. So like, and I will say the two takes on wrestling are very true. Though Roman Reigns has cancer now, so it's kind of hard to hate him because it's like you can't hate a guy for having cancer. So when he comes back, you know, if he comes back from the illness, he's going to be a huge star, and nobody's going to care that the WWE is pushing him again because dude came back from cancer. That's pretty rad.
So this is such inside baseball. This song references like current wrestling stuff. It's not like stuff from the 80s or whatever.
Oh no, it's current. Yeah,
That's even better.
Yeah. Anyway, about the music. It's fantastic blend of power pop and psychedelia and punk, and like you said, it's that post-hardcore energy. All the tracks on this album are fantastic. The lyrics are hilarious. The energy of it all is good. The way it's weird because you know how some bands the scream vocals are just obnoxiously terrible. Mm-hmm. This guy fucking nails it when he starts screaming in such a good way, and it's perfect. It's mixed well. It's one of my favorite finds in quite some time, and I love how random it is that you're like, oh, let's see what this band is like, and all of a sudden like he talks about how he loves professional wrestling. I'm like,
It was meant to be.
oh fuck yeah,
Yeah.
worlds boom colliding.
I love too that it's like 2 minutes. That's not to say that I just like, oh, it should be over right away. But I think in any type of music where experimentation is encouraged and allowed and people are accepting of it, there can be a tendency to like, I'm just gonna extend this indefinitely. And it's like to have the restraint to be like, nope, it's gonna be about a little over 2 minutes and that's the song. I appreciate that kind of control.
Yeah, and I think I don't think it's this. I think it's next batch of songs where it's the same similar thing where it's like you kind of want this, you wish the track was like 2 or 3 times longer, but then at the same time like I don't know if I'd ever go back and listen to it again if it was a 6-7 minute song versus like 2 minutes of perfection.
Yeah, I mean, I love long tracks, but I also think, I don't think, we live in an era where I could just repeat the song, so I don't need it to be longer. I could just hear it again and again, and so I appreciate that from this group.
Yeah, that's true. Never really thought of it that way. So yeah,
Well,
just hit repeat or go back, and you don't have to lift the needle up or hit rewind on your cassette tape and then overshoot it and then have to listen to like the last 20 seconds of the track beforehand. And
That's
man,
right.
what the hell?
I know, you've been doing it wrong.
Life was tough before.
Just like, with the new Weezer record, which is all covers, you can just put, Take on Me on repeat
I'm sorry,
over and over again.
You're breaking up. Let's just go on to the next song.
Can you believe that? Is that record a big success? Like, I feel like everyone's talking about it. I don't know if that necessarily means, maybe that is a success in the record industry these days, because they don't sell any records anymore. That it just has to be people memeing it and sharing things on Instagram and Twitter. But I cannot believe that band. I see that record and I love it and I hate it. I mean, Weezer's not been good for a long, long time, but that just blows my mind. They're like, yeah, we're just 100% committed now to just giving you stuff that you say we should do on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I have heard 0 minutes and 0 seconds of any of the tracks, and I am going to continue to do that because Weezer has never been good. And
that's not true.
That's 100% true.
It might be true. I actually been trying to listen to some of the back catalog, and I'm like, oh, this really hit me. The Blue album, Pinkerton, when I was, a teenager in high school, and it doesn't hit me the same now. Although the Blue record still has some good riffs, like some of the good songs on there. I think, yeah, this is a great pop song. But it sure did inspire a lot of bands to come out that sounded exactly like that, and they have just made utter crap for decades, just record after record of bad music, and for some reason they're still popular and still big.
It's all because people are like, oh, but the Blue album and Pinkerton are masterpieces, so I don't care if they're now just a complete and utter joke. And
but how does that work? I mean, understandably,
let's just stop talking about Weezer and be like, man, Closet Goth was fantastic.
Yes,
you should go listen.
You should go
listen to the entire EP. You would actually love the rest of the tracks too. It's so good. I was glad that you really liked that because I probably would have had to just quit the podcast if you didn't.
Yeah, no, it was good, and it doesn't have to be about Weezer. But how much good grace do you get from an earlier strong record? Like, I feel like you get maybe one bad record where people say, well, okay, I mean, maybe they tried something new and it didn't work out. But Weezer has literally put out like 10 records of terrible, terrible stuff. Like, I feel like eventually you just burn through the goodwill that those earlier records have. But then again, they come out with a record like this, they're like, yeah, we're just going to memify our band. This 100%, that's all we are at this point. And I mean, I liked it. I like the TLC song on it a lot. No scrubs.
And see, this is a problem with irony Twitter and living life ironically is they did this as a lark, a joke to be ironic. And people are like, yeah, this is fantastic because they like ironically think it's cool. And like they ironically like, bad 80s pop songs and now bad 90s pop bands covering bad 80s pop songs is a good thing. No, that's not how life works, man. It's not fucking how life works.
But the reason why I defend that TLC song is a lot of the songs on that Weezer record, it's really indistinguishable from the original. Like Toto's Africa or Take On Me, it's like you really just play. You're like doing a cover, like a straight up, like I'm a cover band. I'm trying to sound like this band. So they're not that.
It's like they found a karaoke track and then just hit play and sang over.
Yeah, I mean, even the vocal delivery and like the synthesizer at the beginning, it's like this could literally be the same song. And what I liked about that TLC song was like, okay, obviously it's an R&B track from the '90s. They're a rock band, so they're gonna have to make it different, and I do like that. The same way in like Ty Segall's record, that Fudge Sandwich, where he covered a bunch of songs. The ones that I liked the most were him really processing like, here's a punk song, but I'm just gonna do it way different. Like that's just a lot more interesting. But anyway, enough about freaking Weezer. Let's go to a track that doesn't sound anything like Weezer or Closet Goth. It's a Sheffield group called The Light Dreams with their song Where Next. And I found this one not through my normal method of just going onto Bandcamp and exploring. I was on Twitter, and there was someone who put up like, "Hey, here's my new record. Here's some download codes," and I just thought, okay, why not? I mean, I usually just go to Bandcamp and start picking around anyway. I'll take a look at this, and I really like this. It's very much kind of a trance-like electronica. On the night when I was coming back from the standard show, I was playing some of the songs for the show in the car, and it was dark and it was rainy, the street lights everywhere, and this was on. I thought, this is cool. It's like my driving music, and it's atmospheric. It's not doing anything surprising or shocking. It's not trying to break new ground, but it was fine. What do you think?
I'm about to give the weirdest compliment that I've probably given a track. Those random instructional videos on YouTube where they don't have any vocals, but they just have like weird instrumental background music?
Yes.
It's kind of like that. And it's that doesn't sound like it's a good thing, but those tracks whip ass because they keep my attention and they keep me wanting to continue watching a dumb video that's like a life hack for something that I'm never going to need. This track had some fun changes during the song to keep the basic theme going throughout, but kind of mixing it up. So that was kind of nice. I will say like the beat felt a little generic relative to what everything else was going on around it. But it did kind of help ground the track more in an analog setting instead of being pure glitch hop poppiness stuff. I like this. Usually, this is one of your better instrumental choices, and you didn't even choose it. So no. I guess we're sensing something here.
That's interesting. I really thought you were going to dislike this just because some of the earlier tracks and earlier shows that I put on where it's kind of more minimalist electronic music, you didn't seem to gravitate towards those. So I guess, something about this tickled your brain. I also... I'm always interested when I go onto their Bandcamp page because it obviously had a link and I went to it, and the number of people who have purchased it or bought it, and he had a decent number. So I thought, okay, maybe there's a scene of people who like this kind of music and they recognize there's something really great in it. To me, it was just background music, or even as you described it, kind of like this music behind some video. So I thought that was interesting and worthy of digging into. If some other people out there are throwing money down for it.
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely talked in the past, especially you, with listening to music while biking and everything, that sometimes you don't need something engaging or in your face for it to do its job. So I think this definitely does its job well. And even, just the handful of times I listened to it, it was nice. I liked it. And yeah, even though I thought that the beat was generic, like I said, I think that is what in the end ended up making me like it more, just because it gave me something a little different to hear in the track rather than being like, oh, you can get this on a random, royalty-free music thing to put in front of your podcast or YouTube video where you're like show somebody, to plant a tree, dig a hole and put the tree in there, and you spend like 15 minutes like talking about how you just need to dig a hole and put a tree in there.
Yeah, I watched one because I had to put in some posts for my yard, and I was like, okay, how do I do the concrete right and do all that? And I picked one. It was just like a guy like, how do you pour concrete? He just like poured the bag in the hole, put the water, stir it, and I'm like, that's it. I guess I could do that. That's not that hard.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Oh, man.
It had 5 million views, too. So there was a lot of dummies like me thinking, like, oh, okay, then now I know.
It's like, do I need to be wary of the pH of the water that I put into the concrete? Yeah. This is going to be probably funny only to me, and I tweeted it out earlier.
The best kind of jokes.
Yeah, exactly. But so I'm a huge fan of this Bonsai Zone, Nigel Saunders. He's a Canadian guy who... he puts out like 2 or 3 videos a week, and each video is like almost a half an hour long. So he's like putting out feature-length movies a week on his bonsai stuff.
And bonsai trees?
Yeah, he's got hundreds of them, and he's got he turned an entire room into his house into like a greenhouse and everything. And he's like in Canada, so he's like got all these tropical plants in one room that's like 80-90 degrees with like 100% humidity in it. It's fantastic. The guy, he's like the Bob Ross of bonsai.
That sounds like it's going to do terrible things for your house if you have a 100% humidity room.
Yeah, probably not the greatest thing to have inside, but that's besides the point. But he was trying to find a pot for one of his trees, and he like put it in there, and he's like, I don't know, it kind of just looks like a tree in a flower pot. And I just started dying because it's like, it's like the crux of bonsai.
That's fascinating.
It was hilarious, and I don't give a shit. I liked it. So let's move on to the next band.
Yes. So this next one is a Massachusetts act called Editrix with their song "Taste."
Come sit next to me, and you won't talk anymore.
Found this, Craig. Start us off.
I did. So this band is from East Hampton, which is funny because they sound a lot like Speedy Ortiz, who is from Northampton, who sounds a lot like Pavement, which you alluded to earlier in the show, and I'm assuming this is the band you were talking about.
It is, and I also realized after I said that the band I'm really gonna make a Pavement connection with is in our next episode. So, but yes, this track as well, definitely borrowed from them.
Yeah, I will say I love Bandcamp tags. We've discussed them in the past. And these guys rule at them because one of their labels was avant-garde butt rock.
Yep, they actually had that in their bio too, so I copied that down. That's awesome.
And then and new metal,
of course.
I could kind of sense avant-garde butt rock, but I don't see any new metal in this.
No.
But I really enjoyed this, and I know her vocal delivery is not going to be for everyone. I think it really works with this music, and
Absolutely.
I don't think any other type of singing would have worked as well with like the guitar track, or with the the guitar rhythms and lines and musically and everything like that. So I thought it was fantastic. I listened to the whole little EP a bunch because there's only a handful of songs. I think that's been my most frustrating thing about Bandcamp lately is you find all these great bands and then they only have like one little EP with like 10 minutes of songs and they don't have anything else, and you're like, God damn it, just give me a 45-minute long album or give me nothing.
Oh, Craig. Well, yeah, so this is my favorite avant butt rock band of all time for sure, and I also love the vocals. I love how spazzy, like space jazz it gets in the second half of the song, but it's a great example of here's these vocals, which, as you mentioned, don't seem like they fit with the guitar line, and then it just seems to kind of gel together. Either you just become accustomed to it about halfway through the song, or there was a lot more planning that went into how this is being constructed, so it sounds very off-center at the beginning, and it just kind of comes together. So I really liked it. It was great.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was gonna so I think this was the last track on the EP. Like the first song, it was hard because like that might have the most disjointedness between the vocals and the music, and even after listening to it for a while, it's still like the first like 30 seconds to a minute, you're like, what the fuck is going on? Is this a joke? Like, and then again by the end, you're like, there's no other way to sing with this type of music. So,
I was really hoping when you were introducing this band and you mentioned they are from East Hampton, I was hoping you were setting us up for a really funny, like, inside baseball Massachusetts joke about, like, well, they sound like Pavement, but they're from East Hampton, and everyone knows East Hampton prefers Neutral Milk Hotel, and everyone would be like, what the hell does that even mean? But you didn't do that, so I was really disappointed.
No, I went that they sound like a band from Northampton.
Whatever.
So, and they're in the same area, so it's out. Yeah, they're in the same area because East Hampton is going to be a little east of Northampton. Actually, I think the Hampton ones, they're all mixed up. Where East Hampton might be west of West Hampton. I don't know.
That'd be so perfect. I would love that.
Yeah, there's Massachusetts cities are weird because like there's like Hampton, Borough, like different things like that, or bridge where there's like a north bridge, a south bridge, a stir bridge, and then like Foxborough, Northborough, Westborough, Middleborough.
Sounds confusing.
Like, it is, because like Middleborough is like 3 hours away from Westborough and Northborough, and it's like, and Marlborough. So it's like, nothing makes sense.
See, I prefer my state where we just start every city with the word saint. And, we just keep it like that. Make it really, really clean and easy. Except for Oakland.
And all the other cities, like Davis.
Fair enough. Let's take a look at our next track here. This is from a band, All I Feel
Los
Is...
Angeles.
Wait,
Bakersfield.
Yeah, all those two. This is a band called All I Feel Is Yes. And with their track, Are You Finished Yet?
Overdose on yes. Turn on to me. Freak out on me. Hit the spot with me. Yeah, burn out on me. Moving for the kill. Pyrrhic victory. Don't bite your
So this was another submission that we received, and I mentioned at the top of the show, getting kind of having an Oregon sound in my mind at least. And this is an Oregon band. I thought it sounds great. It sounds like Portland in like the mid 2000s, where with like Sufjan Stevens and all these kind of very lush orchestral pop rock bands that were coming out. It does feel like it fits into that. In fact, the vocalist, who, according to their Bandcamp page, Jacob Anderson, he sounds like someone I've heard before. So I don't know if maybe he is in some larger acts, or that's just how people sound up there, where that's kind of a consistent vocal delivery. I'm not sure, but I thought it was a good song. But what did you think?
Yeah, this is a weird one for me, because like I loved every separate individual part of the song. Like the drumming was great, the synth lines were cool. I liked the singing style, like you said, and the delivery was interesting. Yet for some reason it didn't quite come together for me, and I don't know how that's possible.
I don't know either. How did you feel?
So yeah, I know it's on me. Like there's a couple of times where I really liked it, and then there's other times where it's like, I don't know, there's just something missing. Like, it's very Flaming Lips-ish to me.
Yeah,
and I
definitely
think it's kind of missing that big, what's the word I'm looking for? Just superfluous shit that the Flaming Lips add to all their tracks to kind of tie everything together. It's kind of like the...
I want that to be on the next reissue. Superfluous shit.
Well, no, it's like, so they have all these nice, tight, individual little pieces, like early Flaming Lips stuff, and like it's great. And then they at some point decided, like, well, what if we just have this wall of quicksand sound that we just start throwing stuff into, where everything kind of gets lost and muddled, but somehow it really works. And so I think, for me, I think that's what I was kind of missing, is something in the background that wasn't part of the song or the music or anything like that, but still just help bridge everything a little tighter. But like I said, I loved the drumming, I loved the synth parts, the guy like vocally was fantastic, but yeah, I'm just disappointed in myself, because I know I should like this.
Yeah, this seems like your kind of jam if you traveled back to 2006, but maybe I'm missing your what you liked at that time. Very good. Let's take a look at the next track, which is another submission. This is from a band, or rather an artist we've heard before, from Egypt. Name is Feras Chatila, with his new song, One-Sided Love.
She was the cutest, fakest bitch. She loved the guy that gave a shit about her, if not for this to focus. But baby, I really do give a fuck. All I care about is us. I just want to let you know that I'll be there if you want.
So Feras Chatila has the honor of being the first band to have a second track played on our show. We randomly found his earlier song from a couple episodes ago. Obviously shared it with him. He was like, "Oh yeah, that's a bit older stuff. I'm working on some new things. I'll send it along when I have it finished." And this is one of those final products, and I really like this. It has a very Tame Impala sound to it. It sounds like he was listening to a lot of that group's most recent material. There's also has that tendency to have lots of different pieces to it. It does sound like there's like a couple different songs that are trying to be melded together here. But I thought it was a step up for his songwriting, for the vocal delivery, for just the overall quality. So what did you think?
Yeah, it probably took me a minute or two to kind of get into the groove of the track. But once it got going, I really liked it. And then the curveball about halfway through or towards the end of the track, where it just kind of like broke down and started slowing down, and things kind of felt like they were just falling off the rails a little bit. Was not expecting that, and I loved it. And it was one of those ones that I think really surprised me with how the way it started to the way it ended. It just was, I wasn't expecting any of it, and I was really surprised. And I mostly listened to it last night while pretty drunk, and I thought it was fantastic. And I'm like, oh, I'm only gonna like this because I'm drunk. And then this morning I listened. To it, not drunk. I want to be clear with that. I was not drunk this morning.
Don't lie.
And it was still really good. And so I think this is one of the more surprising ones of this set. And I think there's a pretty good future for this guy.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think if he ever becomes big, we can say that it was our 50 listeners, and that elevated him out of obscurity and into the big time.
Yeah, so if that happens, can we get like a point, like a % of all profits?
I think that is how it works.
Yeah, we didn't tell anybody this, but when you said no, just kidding.
We actually own all your music now. No, just kidding. We don't do it.
All right. We are like Capitol Records now. We own everything.
And much like Capitol Records, we're entirely broke. So let's take a look at our very last song. This is by a band or an individual named of Grace Sings Sludge with her track Everlasting Arms.
It's bottomless. I can see the children crying. I can see the kitchen fire. I can see like a bird on a wire. The attic.
So this is a pseudo submission. It was not submitted by the band or the musician itself. And you wrote down in the notes, California from Hungy, who is our friend. But I read that as California from Hungary. I don't know why my mind just did that. So I thought, oh, it's like a Hungarian band that, is now in California. And then I had to read it again. I was like, oh, no. It's from our friend, Captain Hungy. So tell us, what do you think of this?
I liked it. I liked the minimalist and sparse auralness to it, with the haunting and piercing vocals. Like, I imagine that this would fit in perfectly on a gritty detective show from HBO or Showtime.
Hey, that's what I wrote in my notes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's not like rewriting the book on the genre, but it's also not making like a super generic version of it. It's it's good. It's fun. I listened to it quite a bit. All the other tracks on this album are nice. So I guess we can keep having Hungy as a listener.
I guess so. Well, yeah, I guess you can. He's
Yeah, I
Hungy.
mean, because we could have just like IP blocked him from the website or something like that. Do we have that?
Well, he was our only
ability?
listener for a little while there, so that would have been kind of devastating to our bottom line.
Yeah, well, Now we can get rid of him. Hungy, you're fired.
Well, I think you mentioned like a detective show on HBO or Showtime, and I definitely got that vibe. I'm spacing on the name of the season 2 of True Detective. They had a female singer. I've mentioned her on some of their shows, but
Yes,
this absolutely reminds me of that as well. And I wonder, is there like a crop of kind of female singer songwriters who are doing that kind of very dusty, hazy, kind of drawn out singer-songwriter stuff? It seems like there is a couple that are kind of active, so it's good. I like this song, so I haven't listened to the rest of them.
That kind of it kind of is like I don't know if you watched Portlandia, but they had a thing about wow music.
No,
like
I don't know what that is.
All of the it was like for the themes for all these different TV shows that all kind of have like sort of pseudo western like feel to it, a little more gothic Americana thing, and they all have like this little wow like feel to it, and it's hilarious.
Okay, so I'm not the only one to notice this. Apparently, it's actually been joked about.
It's a pretty big thing, but yeah, this track was great. I liked it. I think Hungy cheated, and he's like, oh, I know what these guys like, so I'll just send them something that I won't get made fun of, because
I was hoping he was going to send in something so proggy that it was just going to blow my mind. So, like, it was going to be like
submit some Dream Dragon.
Oh, that would have been great. Or if he would have just sent in like one of the most terrible songs from one of the new Yes records, like that would have been great trolling. So, anyone out there who also wants to just make a submission, even if it's not your band, we always appreciate that, especially if you're trying to troll us. That would be really funny.
I don't know. I just don't think I'd put it in the show if it was that bad. Like, if it's a band submitting something, we 100% will always put it on whether we like it or not. If it's a listener submitted thing and it's bad, we'll just pass on it and pretend like
I don't know. I think I might
email
put it
got
on.
sent to our spam folder. Apparently, we didn't see it.
I want to like fight with people via the internet. Like the podcasts are the worst way to have a back and forth, unlike live radio where people can call in and you can have like you're dumb, your choices sucks, blah blah blah. Like on the podcast, they'll hear it like 5 weeks later and like, wait, I sent them a song. Oh yeah, I did. And they talked about it. Those bums.
That's one way to have a beef, especially with us. Putting out an episode every couple of weeks, and we record 2 at a time, so it's like once a month we do this. So it would be a very slow back and forth.
Yeah, but that's what America needs right now. We need less people immediately being able to comment on everything. Now it's like the good old days of letter writing. Like when you read some of the great beefs between writers back in the day where they have to send like a physical letter, and they'd be like arguing over the course of 3 weeks, back and forth. I want us to return to that. So that's what this podcast is all about.
It kind of blows my mind too that all those people just like saved their letters too. Like, why?
Because they were super egotistical people who thought that they were very important, and just like Thomas Jefferson, who thought people are going to want to read my letters. I mean, everything I write is brilliant. So I imagine you're that kind of person, because I saved not a single letter in my entire life. I've thrown them all away.
Yeah, most of my pictures too. Like I don't know. I guess I'm a very sparse person.
Well, on that note, Craig, what's the best in show for this 9-track set list that we put together?
I don't think it'll be surprising to you, but I'm going to go with Closet Goth.
Okay, I think that is a good track. That's up there. I haven't actually decided. I'm looking at it right now. I might just have to say that I'm going to go with the Feras Chatila track, just because it was interesting. I really liked that it was someone who we've already played before who submitted another track, and then it's showing some real interesting improvements. So I'm going to go with that one for this week.
Yeah, it's a good choice. That was probably my most surprising track. I would say there wasn't a single track on here that upset me, which is better than I think
episode
that might
13.
Be the first, yeah, I think that might be the first time this ever happened.
All right. Well, everyone's so pleasant and happy. On that note, make sure you guys go to our website at vizaural.music.blog. You can, again, email us any of those tracks at vizaural.music@gmail.com. We're on Twitter and all that other crap, but just keep tuning in, keep subscribing, keep finding us on YouTube, and until next time.
Oh, wait, I want to say something that we haven't said for the previous 11 episodes, but I always hear it on other websites or other podcasts. I'm like, oh, we should do that too. If you're listening to this on iTunes, rate and give us 5 stars on that to give us a boost in the old algorithms. Apparently that's something, algorithms. So rate and review us. And if it's a bad review, I don't give a shit. I just want to see a review somewhere, sometime.
Yeah.
in any
Can you
place.
do that on all those other platforms? I don't go to any of those places, so I have no idea how any of that works.
I honestly have no idea. The only one I ever hear is like rate and review us on iTunes, because I think iTunes might be one of the more ubiquitous things to listen to podcasts and whatnot. I would rate and review us, but I don't know my Apple ID information.
I don't either.
And I don't want to submit to get what it is. So there's some other podcasts where I'm like, oh, I should go review them, and then I hit that thing. I'm like, oh shit, I can't do that. So to Top Marks, I apologize that I have yet to review your podcast. It's 5 stars, but I'm too lazy to figure out what my login information is. So
Well
I hope
played.
that helps with your iTunes algorithm.
Yep. On that note, until next time.
Peace.